All right, so let's move on to our broken review for the week. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Skipchaser.
Ooh.
Skipchaser released March 21st. You can find it for $10 on Steam, developed and published by Ponywolf. It's a action indie RPG. It's a story-driven sci-fi fantasy shooter that involves weapon customization, procedural levels, and fast-paced gunfights. As you battle and you loot your way through abandoned mines, you play a Skipchaser, who are a dying breed of bounty hunters. What are you guys' expectations going in this game?
So just my expectation was I was just thinking Hotline Miami.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's my expectation. I was, just based off the way the character moves around, how you're shooting and everything, I was thinking, oh man, I'm going to become enraged. I'm going to be challenged. My mental, aptitude is going to be pushed to its limit because I
Mhm.
I sometimes hate games like this. I love them, but I hate them. And that was what my expectation was.
Yeah.
I I didn't really have a lot of expectations to say, and I was confused. I looked at some tech demos and stuff that they had, and some various things. It looked like their scope was pretty large, so I wasn't really sure what was going to be available on their sort of day one release. And seeing this was early access, which I didn't know it was going to be early access, I really didn't know what to expect. So there was a lot of customization features that I was pretty excited about, and I thought the art style looked pretty cool. So I was optimistic going into it.
I definitely wish that Steam would find a way to tell you that the game is going to be released into early access,
Right.
because they got all these release dates, and then you look at them like, oh, it's a early access release date
Yep.
when they actually come out. And my
It did.
expectation,
It told you in advance on this one,
I
didn't
didn't
it?
see it.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I didn't
Oh.
see it. I thought it was just releasing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, I think my expectations were kind of like you, Monica. I played a lot of Enter the Gungeon, so just like a two-stick shooter, action indie. That's pretty much all I expected. Definitely the weapon customization I was looking forward to. So let's talk about the things that we liked with this game.
Well, you started off with mine, man. The weapon customization.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I liked that element of it. So in the game, you get these parts, and you actually create your own gun with different parts um, that you collect, and it's fun. That part of it's fun. A little bit quirky, almost, I would say.
Hmm.
I guess beyond that, uh, I also liked that the enemies, um, they all have, you see similar enemies throughout the game,
Hmm.
but every single enemy that you see is slightly different.
Yeah.
And because they take all of these different parts and they mix them up, so that every single enemy that you see is slightly different than the other. They've got thousands of different types of enemies, which I thought that was kind of neat.
Hmm.
And then also, this one is on my things that I liked list. But I don't feel as though the art style is wholly unique, or that it really takes you. It feels like something you've probably seen something similar to.
Hmm.
But I did feel as though the art style, specifically the characters, they say it's an RPG. It's very lightly an RPG, but the text, all of that, I felt it worked, and it was enjoyable. So those are the things I liked the most.
Do you think it was like the art style is kind of Samurai Jack ish? That's what I was picking up while I was playing it.
No way. Samurai, like,
Like that style, like,
comparing it to Samurai
yeah.
Jack, I mean, maybe if Samurai Jack took a shit,
Samurai Jack's
like,
less successful brother.
right. I mean, this is on my things that I like, but I can't say like it's anywhere near Samurai Jack. No.
What do
Yeah.
you like about the game,
Well,
Josh?
I would say, well, to comment on that, yeah, it's got a sort of a semi cell shaded kind of look paired with some gradients that gives it almost Samurai Jack, almost cell shaded feel to different parts of the game, which that was one of the things I liked most about it, in terms of just visual style. But so, sort of disclaimer, I feel like this overall is mostly a very bare foundation for what they plan on bringing. So with that in mind, I feel like they really are setting this up to be an RPG. It's not there yet. This is almost a tech demo of what they want to bring to the table. But from the customization, the gun customization alone, one of the core things I really liked in terms of gameplay. They also plan on applying that to your character to be able to change out your visual style of your character itself, the armor and such. That's on their planned release, and then hopefully they'll adjust sort of the level of stuff. But I did like being able to explore this world and just keep on going, and the transitions when you were going from like floor to floor. I thought just their visual style of that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like
a bit quirky and sometimes annoying, but pretty good. So
that's like
it's
me.
hard to really expand. It's hard to really expand on a lot of things because a lot really wasn't there. I thought the gameplay of running around and shooting was pretty good, but there wasn't a lot there. Of course, I can save that for the things I didn't like about the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I actually like the graphics overall. They took a different approach to trying to make a game look like its own thing. I appreciate that. I felt like they could have done that more successfully at parts. The weapon customization is definitely the main highlight of the game. I wish they would have carried like your customization of it into your actual character when you're in the world, so you can see that you change stuff. But overall, it's a great idea for a game. One I wish you would see more of, something like that. The main soundtrack for the game is actually something I would listen to outside the game. It was really well done. I wish there was like more of like that soundtrack because I think I only noticed one, but that like the one they had was like really top notch, and I don't know if they commissioned it or if that's the dude they have in house, but they need like keep going on that. What about things we kind of disliked about this?
So I had a problem with the fact that maybe I was, because of my expectations going in, I was expecting some way more fun music.
Yeah.
And it is so quiet in general. I mean, when
Awkwardly
you are
quiet.
going on these levels, there are some noises, there's some like almost ambient, like just not quite wind, but some noises are happening, but there's no music. And for how cute this game, could be, I feel like there should be way more music happening. It falls so flat as far as like the sound.
Right.
Also, again, maybe this is partially due to my expectations, but this game is not difficult at all. I could have played this game when I was 7 years old. I could have played this game if I broke both my hands and I had them in casts. Like it is, and for me to say something like that is dangerous because I normally just rage over the simplest things. The bosses are simple. And I had a hard time, really feeling like I was doing much more. If there was more of a role play or the, role play game dynamic to it, maybe the progress that I was making would feel more important. But when the game itself was easy and the role play wasn't, the story wasn't quite there, I was left with something to be desired.
Yo, where was the story?
And grenades are pointless. This
What
is my last thing on the list. The grenades are pointless. If you have a grenade and you want to use it for something, you should have to use it for something. It should be a tactic. It should help you beat some of these bosses, but it is not. They don't do anything. And it just really bothers me when there are elements to a game that could really add a specific strategic skill set. And then they don't actually provide any type of purpose. So I'm done there. I'll save any of my comments for the rest of the comments for my final thoughts. And I'm moving on to Josh.
So I have to give another disclaimer. This game is an early access. It's to the point to where Skipchaser skips content. Like it skipped all the content, the story, even the functionality. After you finish a quote unquote mission, you sometimes get teleported automatically back to your ship, and that's sort of like your home base, or sometimes you have to go through a teleporter, or sometimes you have to walk through a door. So even with its base foundation that's fairly solid, it still has some really annoying quirks to it. But that's the biggest thing I dislike is this early access, and I didn't, I guess, follow the developer enough to understand that going into it, how early it was going to be. Now they put their own little notices up, but it's more of, and we've had this issue before, it's more of a tech demo of what, you know, they plan on doing. I have the same thing with the weapon customization. It'd be nice to see your changes that you make to your weapons in game, and I think that's something they plan on doing. That, along with when they apply that same customization to your character in terms of your armor and everything else, you're going to be able to visually see those changes. I think they plan on doing that for both of those. But there's no story. You go around talking to some dudes, and you don't really know why. You run, and the little bit of story that is there, it just kind of stops. Like the final thing that you do is go to an endless like procedural level system. So let's say you finish your mission here and you finish the last mission or whatever it is. And then I ran around the town trying to figure out, okay, what the hell do I do next? And it's like, you're in the Badlands, which is an endless level system. And I'm just like, oh, so I just run around and shoot people till I die, which is extremely easy to just kill and kill and kill and kill. Like Monica said, the game at this point is extremely easy, which I liked at the beginning. I was like, hell yeah, this is something I can just casually play.
I'm a winner.
Yeah. And then it got to the Badlands with the endless levels, and I was like, okay, this is getting pretty boring. Let me go run over some mines and kill myself. And I like the game, but it's too early for me to be. I'm keeping it installed though. I plan on keeping it installed, and I'll save those thoughts for my final thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much, just gonna follow up like what you guys said. It's just way too early, too basic. The grenade system is horrible. Like, why can't you choose how long you're gonna throw a grenade?
Throw it past all my enemies, and if it actually blows up on them, it doesn't even hurt them.
Yeah, I basically just would chuck grenades into the next room and like kill enemies before I saw them. That's all I was using it for. In terms of design and procedural design, all the levels basically look the same. I felt like I was running through the same place over and over and over. And you just can't do that. Like, there was 3 main missions you went on, and it felt like just one long mission. Yep. Combat, I wish there was a little bit more to the combat. Like, if there was a rolling system so you could dodge enemies. Maybe adding like a melee for things that get too close when your gun's overheated. And I thought like the sound of the gun actually shooting was pretty awful. For something that's like the main thing to do, it was almost jarring to me. And maybe it was
jarring because there's no music.
Yeah, like maybe they purposely made it that loud so you could hear it over the music, and then there just wasn't music. So
yeah,
it's just there's so much that they have promised, and like, are they going to deliver on it? They have a lot to deliver on. Like, it's a story-based game. The dialogue's way too bad for a story-based game. And it's based around that Skipchasers are like a dying breed, except when you die, you're resurrected in this like cryogenic thing and you come back to life. Like, how are you a dying like breed of people? I come
back, I live again. Like, maybe they can only regen so many times or something. Maybe. They're killing all the Skipchasers over and over, and they just come back.
We'll have to wait and see. So, final thoughts, Monica. What do you think?
So, alongside the fact that this game did come out, it's $10, and I have a really hard time understanding why a game at this level should be. So, you know what? The other game that we reviewed, that was the tech demo. I felt that one still had more replayability than what we're talking about with this one. You're looking at, there was more to do. You're looking at about an hour to an hour and a half of your time currently right now, maybe more if you really take your time. And I felt as though, these types of, I do enjoy this type of game. I really do. But it's starting to work. It's got the bones, but there should be more to this than what they have provided you, especially since the final price of this game can't be more than $10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the price isn't going to increase. So you're really not, and if it does increase, I'd be shocked. So you're really not getting some type of discount by investing now and then following. It's just straight up a $10 type of game. And
Yep.
I guess beyond that, I was disappointed that there are no difficulty levels. You can't make it more complicated, so therefore you can run through it really quickly.
Mhm.
It's frustrating. I gotta say, I'm frustrated. I want early access games to at least have enough that I am getting, I don't know, 3 hours out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe four, that should be enough. Um, that's what I want. And I'm not getting it with games like this. And I don't understand why releasing this in early access, specifically this type of indie game, how that could possibly help towards the final production, because I just feel like you're going to put yourself into a position where no one's going to purchase the game.
Yeah. Like you get one chance at hype. That's it.
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
gone,
It's frustrating because this game could be great if they took it a little bit further along, or if they just released it full,
Yeah.
if
Yep.
they just released it full. Anyway, I'm done.
What about you, Josh? Final thoughts on Skipchaser?
Yeah, it's just early access, and I wish I liked it at the very beginning, and by the
Me
time I
too.
was done with it, I was like, this game's cool, but there's just nothing to do once you get so far. You can go around and decide to collect all your weapon parts, and it's really hard to recommend to anyone unless you're a fan of their plan. So if you look at what they plan on doing with the game, and you kind of like what's already there, but you look at their plan and you're really optimistic about that, that's the only reason you should hop on board.
You should treat this as a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should
for real,
really
though.
treat this as a Kickstarter. That's what exactly. You should treat this as a Kickstarter and be like, yeah, I want to play this game. Elements that they plan on bringing to the table, then great. And I'm going to keep this game installed just for that. I plan on coming back and playing it because I'm that optimistic about it and I liked what I saw. But overall, it's really hard to recommend this to anybody as it stands, and that's just part of the early access game that we're seeing nowadays.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, it just like this game has so much ground to cover to get to
Yeah.
where it wants to be. And even like it has to compete against like Hotline Miami, Enter the Gungeon. Like there are some really great games in this genre that it has to go up against. And I just don't see it happening. Like I don't know what their timetable is, but there is so much work to be done that I'm not optimistic about where this game's going. I really love the idea of it. I love customizing weapons. But for your early access in a weapon customization game, you have two types of weapons. That's it. You have a like submachine gun and a rifle. And like the game has great style, it has, great music in it, and that level of effort needs to be put into its gameplay, because I think the reason you got more playability out of Warcube, which was like a similar development time, I guess, is because this combat system was fun. It was way more developed.
It was really fun.
Yeah, that's why. And their combat system just isn't fun. There's not a whole lot to do besides hold down and shoot and throw grenades off, like to Egypt, I
Hope
guess.
they hit something.
Yeah, like I just.
Yeah.
All right, so Skipchaser early access from Ponywolf. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Monica.
I have to be thumbs down on this one. I just don't, I feel like early access games can work with like maybe like sandbox games, games where you're interacting with other people. And as long as there continues to be content pushed out on those types of games, you can keep revisiting them.
Right.
Games like this, you buy them in early access, you get through the first hour, and then you forget about them.
Yeah.
And you don't know whether or not it's finished because you're not going to keep opening it up day after day in and day out. So I've got to be thumbs down on this one. When they do a full release, I wouldn't mind going back, testing it out again, seeing if I change my mind. But this is definitely one where, I've given thumbs up to early access games in the past, and this is just one where I am a solid thumbs down.
Any more smiley faces for you?
No.
Okay. What about you, Josh? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Man, thumbs down right now. When this game is further along, I have a pretty good gut feeling that I could give it a thumbs up. But as it stands in this early, I would give it, say it's early access. Thumbs down. But as Michael was saying, I think that's the biggest problem that you can find amongst these early access single player games. You brought up an extremely good point. If you're early access and multiplayer, you have, the ability to rely on the users to amuse themselves because you have those player interactions. But if you're coming out with an early access single player game, you're going to have more than a bare foundation.
Yeah.
If you want people to sort of be satisfied and stay satisfied long enough to come back and play your updates. So thumb downs for now, with a prospect of hopefully it giving a future thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go thumbs down like you guys. I don't even, in the future, it'll be hard for me to give a thumbs up because I don't know if they're gonna push this genre into new territory. Why would I play this when there's other games that are just as good, if not better, than what they promise to be? So that's it for Skipchaser. All thumbs down. Maybe later on we'll get into a better release version of it and come back.